Hey, what's going on, elite entrepreneurs and empire builders? Jared here, back with you another episode of Fran Opps Live. Man, this one's going to be a good one. It's a little different than normal. We oftentimes will do these kind of presentations or interviews of CEOs and founders of different brands, and every week it's been a pleasure to be able to bring in a different concept and connect so many of you and different candidates to these opportunities that could help radically change and shift and transform their futures. And that's what we're doing here at Fran Opps, is helping people franchise their future with confidence and clarity. And that's why today we're having a discussion about the entire franchising industry. Franchising really as a whole is an incredible vehicle to help build wealth and to help build freedom, but it's not without misconceptions. And as the industry has continued to grow over the last 2 decades, it has also come and collected a large number of just myths, lies, and falsities. And that's what we're going to unpack for you. We're going to pull back the curtain for you today, because today I'm excited to welcome in my good friend Justin Livingston. Once again, we've had him on a few times because of his impact and influence in the franchising world, but also mostly his heart for people and his wisdom in this space. It's hard to find good individuals in franchising who deeply care about people and not just profit, but they want to use their experience, know-how, knowledge, and wisdom to be able to influence and impact other people to help them experience a life that he, in a lot of ways, is getting to live right now too. And so he has been in franchising for over 20 years. He founded Franchise Transformations. We've actually had him on before to talk about a couple of the brands that they've worked with. He runs development for some pretty incredible brands like The Local Drive, which we might talk about in a little bit. We've had him on to talk about Tapster and Ziggy's Coffee. So some of those that you might need to go back inside this group or on our YouTube channel and go watch those interviews as well to learn about a little bit, like a deep dive in those concepts, which he's also a multi-unit owner with Ziggy's as well. So he deeply believes in the things that he is helping develop as well. And then you also are probably familiar with, or at least know of, the Coyote Ugly Saloons. And so excited to have Justin on. He is a good friend to the podcast, to the show here. He is a franchisee. He is a family man and friend. So without further ado, let's welcome in Justin Livingston. Justin, my man, welcome back. You're in for like the third or fourth time here, man. Welcome back to Fran Opps Live.
Thanks for having me, buddy. I always appreciate these conversations.
Yeah, it's good. And this one is an important one. Deeply important. I feel like I hear a lot of the things that we're going to discuss today, time and time again, from candidates. And it seems like, did you just talk to I'm talking to one guy. I'm like, did you just talk to the last guy I talked to? Because he's got the same kind of thought, and it's intriguing and it's interesting. And there's, I think, a lot of these myths that we're about to expose, a lot of these misconceptions. It's not like they're coming out of nowhere.
Right.
I feel like we see it all the time. There is poor practice. There's con artists in some ways. There are people who maybe not even trying to really con, but trying to, in order to sell a deal, will expand upon something that's maybe not really truth. And so there it's become this kind of legend or myth. And so I'm excited to kind of really talk through some of these things with you as well. So it's going to be good. So let's dive into really, as you and I kind of prepared for this and talked through this, one that we both saw as a big myth that we see regularly is this thought of franchising guarantees success.
Right? Right? It's a guarantee.
Yeah. It comes with that thought all the time. I hear that all the time, that I don't want to become my own independent business owner. I want to get into franchising because it guarantees that I'm going to be successful, and completely removes all of the risk involved and puts it on the franchisor. So why do you think, here's my question, why do you think this myth is so common among especially new buyers, new people who've never been in franchising? Why is this one so common?
Yeah, it's interesting. So myths have an origin story typically,
Yeah.
right? They don't just come out of nowhere.
Right.
Sometimes they're just bad assumptions, and sometimes those myths are perpetuated by people who maybe aren't doing this for the right reasons. Like anywhere else, any other industry, not all things, not all companies, not all people are created equal.
Right.
This is one that, I mean, look, a little bit of common sense. There are no guarantees in life, and certainly there are no guarantees in business. You can Google and chat GPT and talk to people until your heart's content. And here's what you're going to learn. There are no guarantees in life. There's no franchise out there that says, I guarantee you success. If they do, run away. It's not,
That's the
true.
truth.
Can't
That's the
possibly be
truth.
true. But here's what you're
Yeah.
going to find. The likelihood of your success increases exponentially. I use this, I'm an analogy guy, and I use the same analogies over and over. I've been doing this a really long time. And the simple, most straightforward analogy is baking cookies. If I were to go bake cookies right now with no recipe and try to go buy the ingredients and figure it out, I would come up with something maybe that resembled a cookie. Maybe. I know there's flowers and chocolate chip and whatever.
Yeah. Yours would be like the fail and the reality.
That's exactly right. Here's what you're trying to do. Here's what you did.
Yeah.
But if you hand me a recipe for grandma's award-winning, world-famous chocolate chip cookies, and then you stand right next to me as I go through the process of shopping for the ingredients and combining the ingredients, and the likelihood of my success, obviously greater. And that's all that franchising is. It's a roadmap. It's a recipe. Choose your analogy. But it's that support system where you're getting into business and just following a process. And that's how you're successful in franchising. If you do that, does that guarantee success? Right. No, but it sure makes it a whole lot more attainable.
Right. Approximately somewhere around, I think it's 92%. I think it's the most updated numbers we have, at least according to Guidant Financial. 92% of franchises are still in business after 2 years.
Amazing.
85% after 5 years. And in contrast, you have independent businesses that are, I mean, there's so many more independent businesses that are opened up, but it's somewhere around 20% or so that fail within the first year.
Yeah.
And so taking that analogy, then what are maybe some of the factors that help determine success in franchising?
You know, I get asked this question in franchise development a lot. Okay, let's strip it all away. I love you. You love me. Fine. How am I successful? And I only ever answer with one answer, which is, if you in your heart believe that you're committed to following the process, and you have to believe that you have found the right concept with the right process. Right? Again, not all things are created equal, but if you've got a good franchisor and they've got a good recipe, and you can truly commit to following the recipe, the likelihood of you being success is really, really great. If you're a system rebel, probably franchising is not for you.
Yeah. And so how does it tell us then, give us a snapshot real quick of franchise transformations. How does that work? Are we talking about, is franchise transformations, do you guys own the companies that you are developing, or you just come in and run the development? And that's, how does that work?
Yeah. So when I started franchise transformations, it was just from I'm a builder by nature. And I find that there's so much misinformation and myths out there about what it takes to become a franchisor. And so we kind of act as this kind of bespoke consultant, if you will, or fractional development person that comes in and just helps guide people into becoming a successful franchise. We're very, very careful. We've curated a list of brands that I can be passionate about, that I'm investing in, that I'm opening with me and my family and the people that we work with and our friends. And so we've got to be passionate about something. And there are lots of great brands out there that have passionate, amazing, passion-filled P&Ls, but they're not quite exciting enough for me. I'm an excitement guy. I have to build something that I can really believe in, that I want to hang out with, that my kids go to school wearing the shirts and they're proud of. And so we work with just a few concepts that are the best in their industry, or niche leading, or emerging in a space that really needs a player that's going to lead the way and innovate. And that's kind of where our sweet spot is, something that we can really be involved with. And we've done that with our group of incredible brands so far.
Yeah. You mentioned niche. And I think that really leads into this next myth. that is honestly maybe the biggest one I hear personally on the broker side. I hear this all the time. It's something along these lines of bigger the better. The bigger the better, right? If the bigger the franchise name, the bigger the franchise system, the better of an investment it must be, right? And we also hear it too as far as like what's hot, like this concept or this brand has grown rapidly in the last year or two. I want to jump on that train because it must be the right investment if everyone's doing it. You know, it's this idea, this thought that they have brand recognition, right? And even people that are my friends and family are asking me, hey, what kind of brands do you guys work with? Are you working with really these like big top, the top 10 on the Entrepreneur 500 list, that kind of thing? Like, are those, and it's people are looking for those, thinking that is all franchising is. And those are all low risk, a sure thing kind of investment. And so why might someone assume, where does that come from? Why does someone assume bigger automatically means better?
I think it really stems from the fact that people just don't really know what franchising is. And some of our upcoming myths will kind of address this topic too. But the reality is people go, oh, franchises. You mean like McDonald's, Arby's?
Right.
Yes. And those are great concepts, but they're behemoths. They're the big ones. KFC. I mean, everybody knows the really, really big franchises. And a lot of those are still locally owned, and some things we'll talk about later, and that's fine. The reality is they are such a small percentage of available franchise concepts. I think, when you talk about even like in your group, you work with 350, I think your slide said. That is such a fraction of the available franchises out there. And you guys are curating a list of the best, and that's awesome. But there's a franchise for everything. I mean, from like, of course, burgers and wings and bars and all of that kind of stuff, but also like picking up after your pets and getting your hair blow dried and changing your tires and batteries. And I mean, if
vending machines,
there's
travel,
a franchise for
security, automotive, there's all kinds of stuff.
And so I think there's a shift happening now that people are starting to understand. And this has been going on for, I think, 10 years. People are starting to go, so it's not just McDonald's. It's not just Applebee's. There are franchises that are local franchises. And what you find, even in the smaller franchises that are not the Subways of the world, there are concepts that have hundreds and thousands of operators or of units available. Okay. And so I think the problem then becomes, well, if they have 1,000 units and these guys have 100 units, and I'm biased, I play in the emerging space, like full disclosure, right? But I think there's a little bit of that myth that, well, I'm going to go with these guys because they have 1,500 units and these guys only have 100. From a support standpoint alone, let's just take support.
What's the downside there? What's the downside of choosing a large system like that?
It's just a numbers game. Do you want to be 1 in 1,500, 1 in 5,000, or do you want to be 1 in 100? I think as concepts grow, it's not exactly apples to apples, but there is a point where most concepts, just by necessity of survival, you kind of go, you become a number. And so these concepts that are in the lower numbers of units, and when I say 100, I read a statistic a while ago, Ziggy's Coffee, we just hit 100 units open, I think 109 now. And I read that only 16% of franchises ever hit that mark. That's crazy. Only 16% of franchises ever make it past 100. So a huge accomplishment for Ziggy's and a huge milestone. But I think for 107 stores open, we have like 62 on staff. That's a 2-to-1. I mean, that's incredible. And you're not going to get that in a bigger concept. So for me, taking that innovation, that emerging space, that energy, if you're doing it right, there are concepts that come on board and they just franchise an idea, which I wish somehow was not legal, but that happens. Again, run. But if they've got some corporate units open, they've tried it with their money, they have people, adept bench systems, know-how, and processes in place, I think those emerging concepts from 5 to probably 250 to 500. I think that is such a sweet spot for exceptional support. It's new enough. You've got lots of green space. I think that's really,
and it's proven. It's been proven, and it's been proven enough to consider that a quality investment, quality franchise. So then can you think of any examples of maybe a big or popular brands that might not be the right fit for somebody, or like, how much weight then do they give to brand recognition? Maybe that's the better question. How much weight should we be giving to the brand name? Because I feel like it is deserving of some weight.
It is
for sure.
It
But
is.
like, how do we evaluate the weight of the brand name, as well as what do we evaluate outside of the brand name to help us understand this decision?
I think, again, with my bias, I think that some of the brand name is important, right? When you go in, and we'll just use Ziggy's, which is kind of in that sweet space right now. But in Colorado, if you don't know Ziggy's, you haven't really been paying attention, right? There's a lot of units here because we're born here. We started here.
Yep.
And so the brand carries a lot of weight. When we're opening our first unit in Omaha pick the state, because we've opened now in 22 states and signed in 32. The excitement, Granite Falls, Minnesota, we just opened our first location and they're just shattering records.
Are they?
I mean, they're consistent, and because they've got great owners, it's a great market, it's a small market, all of the boxes are checked. And you kind of go, well, yeah, but we're here in I've got 3 in Colorado, and I'm looking at Minnesota, I'm going, man, maybe I should open up there, right? So that's a perfect example of the brand name up there. It didn't mean anything, but it's cool. And there's a connection to community, and there's really good owners fueling that, and they're doing an exceptional job, and people are just craving something new. Now, will unit 2, 3, 4, 10, 12 have an easier time because there's some brand recognition? Probably. Will we get inquiries from people because they went to that store and they know they don't have one 20 minutes away? Probably. So that's where the branding comes in. But if brand alone is your decision-making, there's a lot of big franchises that are just kind of resting on their laurels because they have the brand. Yeah, but we are fill in the blank. It's not enough. You need depth of bench. You need support. You need to focus on the franchisee. You need to constantly be evolving and innovating. And some of these legacy brands, sorry to say that I wrote an article and I said, if a lot of these legacy brands, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, will be etched on the tombstones of a lot of these legacy brands, because they're just like, but we are this guy, and that's enough. And it's just not.
And that's on the tombstone of like Blockbuster. You know what I mean? Like they're on there, or like short of naming, not needing to name a whole really other franchises still in existence, but you see some of the biggest like burger concepts that are really struggling right now. Or within the past 2 years, we've seen a sandwich concept that's fairly well known that has really gone through some turmoil. And just because everyone recognizes the name doesn't mean it's a sure thing. I in fact just had one of the top burger, a different burger concept 2 blocks from me, just closed down. Everyone's like, why didn't that close down? That's crazy. They were only here like 2 years. And it's I'm going to guess it's not because people didn't know the name of the company.
Right. Yeah. There's a lack of innovation. There's a lack of growing. If you're not growing, you're dying. It really is one of those cliches that really is true. And it's maybe more relevant right now. Right now, consumer confidence not at an all-time high. People are holding on to that $5 or $10 bill a little bit tighter. What can you do? What experience can you have? How innovative have you been with your menu or your experience, your look, your feel, whatever it may be, so that people go, all right, fine, you can have my $10 that I'm coveting so closely.
Yeah, right. And you even mentioned too, you made a joke about like, I own in Colorado, but maybe I want to go own in Minnesota. And joking, passing comment, I get it. It's funny, but the concern with a lot of people has led to this next myth that we see all the time, is this idea that the franchisees aren't locally owned businesses. Right? How often do you hear that they're not locally owned businesses, that it's some kind of massive corporation structure coming in from out of state, and infiltrating and ruining locally owned independent businesses? So, riff on that one for me, your thoughts on this myth.
Yeah, it's a dagger to the heart, man. As a franchisee, also I take off my franchisor hat and put on my franchisee hat. I was sharing with you a story earlier of our local social media site or page that was having a conversation about this, and they said, we got this new development in downtown, and somebody said, oh, we've got enough franchises. Why can't we just bring in a locally owned family business?
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I can't let it go. I can't let it go. So I shared a picture, maybe a picture that you have. Oh, there it is.
There it is. There you go.
This is me and my amazing, incredible family. And this is what franchising is.
Yeah.
If you haven't figured this out yet, you're missing the message. This is what franchising is. And this is what I try to communicate in that conversation, which is I love a funky, weird, independent something. Fun.
Yeah.
We know statistically those fail a lot, often, right? And the statistics you're just talking about, it's no different. It's still family owned.
Yep.
I live here. We work here. My office is here. My kids go to school here.
Yep.
My wife is an architect here. We also just happen to own a business that gives back to the community, that donates to schools, that supports local charities. And oh, by the way, we did it with a recipe for success.
Yeah.
What's the issue with that? Like, and I think to your point, the myth is because it's some big out of state giant. It's just me.
Right.
It's just the kids. That's it. And we put everything. And this is the really important thing. Franchisees oftentimes put 401ks and college funds and retirements into this business. Not only are they doing something to better themselves and leave a legacy, but they're letting it all ride on it. And I think that risk to bring something to a community, jobs and product and service and experience, these businesses deserve consumers. And it is very local. So that's the biggest myth that I try really hard for the last 20 years to bust is they are local. These are your neighbors. These are your friends. These are your kids' friends at school. These are the franchisees in your community, and they're bringing more to your community than most.
Yeah, exactly. I love that you bring to point the financial investment, that you have people investing their own capital, their own savings, their own livelihood, and really like you as an example, investing your family into this. You're bearing all of that risk associated with business ownership.
And hiring kids in the neighborhood, and there's supporting the schools and bringing coffee to the swim meet. All of the things that you would want a local family-owned business to do. Yeah. That's what franchisees do, and we do it in spades. We just did it with a recipe for success.
Yeah, and why not? If you can find the right franchise is a good fit for you, that is a need or a want in your community, and you can provide that service or that product to your community, you're providing something of value to them. Why wouldn't you want to do that with the best kind of support that you could coming behind you, that a quality franchisor is able to provide? There's nothing. It's not like you said. It's not apples to apples between which is better, franchising or just an independent startup. Like it's not necessarily. It's not inherent like that. That one's good, one's bad.
Right.
It's a matter of fit. But that doesn't mean that the franchisee is not local to the community. Not all the time.
Not all the time.
Not always the case.
But
the vast majority.
All the time. Yeah.
Almost all the time. Sort of having the hard and fast numbers almost all the time.
Right. And why would you take a trip without a map? Right. Why would you bake the cookies without a recipe? It's just somebody has gone through and done this. And again, this is about good franchises, good franchisors. Even so, Ziggy's is easy because now we're rocking and rolling. We've signed over 300 agreements in 33 states. Like that one is not so emerging anymore. Still emerging, but not. It's young, right? Yeah. But like we're in our teen years, which is a really cool spot to be, by the way. But the other concepts we work with, Tapster, which is an amazing self-pour bar, Local Drive, which is a golf simulator, high-end craft cocktail bar. I mean, these are emerging concepts, right? We've just corporate units and a couple. But the corporate unit piece is really what's important. So if you go, well, I could probably order the technology and do a golf bay concept. Okay. They come up all the time and they fail because the technology is expensive. And then how do I book? And again, I don't have the recipe. I just took a bunch of ingredients and threw them in a bowl and went, ugh. And we all know how that's going to turn out. So you take these young emerging concepts and you go, this is awesome. This bar is cool. Golf is cool. I love golf. I live in a market where I can't golf every day because I'm not in that kind of a climate. I'm somewhere in that Midwest or whatever it may be. And this is something I can offer a service to my community, to the golfers, and I can bring people in. It's a good ladies' night out or a couples' night or whatever it is. It's cool. It's airy. It's light. It's bright. If you don't want to golf, the bar is awesome. So why would I not just say, why don't you just teach me how to do it? And by the way, there's discounts on purchasing power and all the other cool things that people don't think about in franchising.
The relationship of the network. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and you talk about it in a way that it's very personal, right? Because it is, but it's personal. The idea of your own financial investment there, your own time, your own family, it's all impacted here. Which I think, I don't know if people are picking up on this. It kind of already understanding the personal level, the intimate level of this is going against the next myth that we hear all the time. This idea of the franchisor will run it for me, right? So tell me, Justin, what comes to mind for you when you hear an individual come to you, and one of the first things they say is they want a passive investment. They want a semi-absentee or absentee investment. And what comes to mind to you? What are you thinking, right, when someone says that at the beginning?
Yeah, first of all, I think outside of just pure financial investments, I don't think absentee exists. Period. I just don't. Semi-absentee,
not just in franchising, but just in general.
I mean, right. Now, even like I've got an investment in London. I don't live in London. I live in Superior, Colorado. That's about as absentee as you could probably be, but I'm still on board meetings. I still have conversations. I still have responsibilities. So that's kind of that semi-absentee. Passive. We talk a lot about passive in our concepts because what this is, and I think what most we're the Atlas, not the Uber, right? So we're not driving you there. We're giving you the map. And so you still have to take the trip. You still have to take the journey. You just have all of this support and help and guidance and rerouting and pivoting and all the different things, but it's still you. If you're looking for something hands off, unless you just have an operational partner that you're funding, there's some nuance to it. But the reality is, I think passive at best is what you're going to get. So there are some concepts that are owner operator, which means I'm doing a job. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm going to do this instead. And that's where you hear people go, well, franchising is just kind of buying a job. It can be, if that's what you want it to be. But especially when you start getting to I'm not making lattes in my Ziggy's.
Right.
It's not my gift to the world. I know kind of how to do it, but more what I know is people. And I know that when we go in with the picture you saw with my kids and my 11-year-old makes a frozen campfire cocoa and we're high-fiving, leaving a 20 in the tip jar and just being kind and showing them that we genuinely love them and care about them, they'll go to the ends of the earth for us because we mean it. We're sincere about it. Right. And so that's not for me, that's passive, right? I'm there, I'm present, but I'm not behind the counter. And I think though that's not the same for every franchise, that's a pretty good sweet spot in franchising where I can be present and not making sandwiches or whatever.
Yeah. So like even the semi-absentee model or concept requires a certain level of active oversight in order to ensure or experience success as an owner, right? So like what kind of work does an owner actually need to be ready for? And what does the relationship then with the franchisor actually look like?
Right. So it's about execution, I think, for me. And again, for our stores, presence is important. That might not be the same for every concept, but being present in the business, your staff knows you, they know your family, they know your value system. They're an extension of you. That's in particularly true about retail with us for the Ziggy's concept and the other concepts is you're an extension of our family. And we want to make it's my reputation on the line, really, right? On the brand. And I'm entrusting you, staff, to represent us well, the brand, our family. And that takes presence and oversight, right? It just does. As you start to get into semi-absentee, now you're talking about I've got multi-units and I've got district managers and my responsibility is still execution. Because if this is one of the, I think another kind of, we'll call it a sub myth, a point B myth, which is, listen, the franchisor comes to me and says, you're not holding up your end of the bargain. And I go, I'm not really involved in the day-to-day operations. I don't care about that at all as a franchisor. Like you're the name on the agreement, right? Your team, you're not executing. And that's ultimately what your responsibility is to execute and uphold the brand standards. And if you do that through multi-units and multi-development managers and district managers and general managers and all the way down the hierarchy, fine. But the buck still stops with you. Yeah.
Right. That's so good. Justin, I got one more. Okay. And one more to kind of wrap us up. And this is a timely one, because I'm hearing this a lot more, like since the new year, since the most recent election. I'm hearing this one a lot is people coming to me and having some kind of concern or fear around the current political landscape or our economy. And so they'll look at something, they'll be a little curious about it, dip their toe in the water, but then they'll decide to wait until, and then the language is somewhere around the economy or political landscape settles down.
Yeah, right.
As that is the, in my mind, the smarter move. Let's wait until there's a little more certainty, not so much volatility in the system before I invest. So speak to that. When you hear that from a client, when you hear that from a candidate, what's your response? How do you respond to that in a way that offers truth?
I love this, and it is timely, kind of. I've been doing this for 20 years, and this question or this comment, this myth has been timely often.
Comes
timely,
back.
It's timely every election cycle.
Yeah.
It's timely every economic cycle. It's time. I mean, there's so many. So because
you went through COVID. You went through the recession in 2008. You went through all of it.
Yeah, I've been through all of it. And there are peaks and valleys in life, right? Both personally, things that you can control with your family and your health and all the different things, and things that you can't control. Yeah. I'm a big, and I coach youth sports also. And we just had this conversation. It's kind of funny how connected everything is, where I'm like, control the things you can control. Yep. Can't control the ref. Can't control what the other team is saying. You can't control the other coach. Control the things you can control in your heart and in your head, and go out there and get the job done. And I kind of feel like that's what happens here. You can spend the rest of your life, and most people do spend the rest of their life waiting for the perfect time, waiting for things to settle down. And this could be whether you decide to buy a home or have a kid. I mean, this really translates across all facets of life, and certainly into buying a business. I'm going to wait. Okay, let's talk about your why. Because I'm a big ask your why and listen when it comes to franchise development. Why are you trying to do this? Well, I want freedom and flexibility. Why? For what? What does that mean? And you kind of you peel the onion, and you get to the point where somebody's like, I've missed the last 4 years of my kids' soccer games, and I'm done missing it. Oh, now we're on to something. Now we have something. You don't want freedom. You want to be a better dad. Right? That's profound. That's powerful. Or I want to change my stars. I want to leave a legacy for my kids. We're talking about real stuff now, not pain, not the surface level stuff. We're talking about the emotional why that you're trying to do this. And so then you just kind of bring it back. When we first met and we kind of got really to know each other, you told me you wanted to be a better dad. I mean, that's cool. That is so cool. You're telling me you're going to let an election cycle of 4 years, something you have no control over, dictate that?
Yeah. Are you going to wait on being a better dad?
What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
What are you waiting? Election cycles always have that. As soon as I know if my guy or my girl wins, then what? Then you're going to leave a legacy for your family? Like, it's easy to say it, and it's because it's really easy to wait. The thing is, while you're waiting, there are those of us who are sprinting. Yeah. And by the time you get ready, which is probably not going to happen, if there's always something to wait for. Yeah. But the opportunity might be gone. I'm going to wait. I get this even in the emerging space. Like, I'm going to wait till you guys have 20 units. Okay. But I hope to see the grand opening of the guy who didn't wait.
Yeah. Right.
Right. I'm a burn the ships guy. I'm a ready, fire, aim guy. And not everybody's like that. But you got to weigh your why with what you're waiting for. And if you really can be honest with yourself about that, the political cycle, the economic cycle, I get like, I'm going to use my 401k and maybe I'll do it. Not today. Fine. But now you're talking about weeks or months. You're not talking about pushing this down the line. Yeah. And so I think if you can really be honest with yourself about what it is you're waiting for and what you're putting off to wait and what you're letting dictate your future and your legacy, I think most people either go, you're right, I'm never going to do this, or they go, that's crazy, and they forge it.
Yeah, I had a buddy here in Central Iowa, which is where I'm at, and he was interested in some franchise concepts and was looking at stuff, and he was looking at some home service brands, especially he was very interested in a couple painting options, and he really was intrigued by one specifically, and they still had availability. They were a fast growing brand, still had availability here, and he ultimately decided, because of the fall, because of what was going on, because of the election stuff, ultimately decided, let's just wait. I'll come back to it. And I just told him, like, I just letting you know, you can wait. It's not a loss to me, but
Yeah.
you might lose this whole territory. Like
Yeah.
it's growing, and the new year rolled around, and he still hadn't moved forward. And I had to tell him, like, hey, I just found out it's been sold. It's
Yep.
gone.
Yeah.
The opportunity is over.
Yeah.
And that's very real. Now, on the flip side of this, for some of you out there, this is not the case for everybody. For some of you, there is good reason to wait.
Yep.
In fact, I just had a client that I've been working with that is going to put this on pause because he's not sure if their visa is going to be renewed.
Totally.
That is a big deal. That's a real deal. It's not a fear-based thing. It would be yeah. And when you sign the agreement, you're stuck to it. I don't think there's a clause in the agreement that says unless your visa doesn't get renewed,
No.
But so there are some circumstances, but the majority of people are doing this out of fear, and it's easier, like you said, to just say no or to just wait and use that as an excuse, rather than dealing with the fact that, let's be honest, you're concerned about risk, which is okay to be. Just be honest about it. Be transparent about the fear,
Well, and there's concern and there's paralyzed, and those are different things. I think, I don't know the statistics, and so maybe they're off, but I know that I've been doing this for 20 years, and I've helped place people in businesses in 14 different countries, and probably that number is in the thousands of people that we've been able to help and work with, which is a privilege. Here's what I know, statistically sound or not. Almost everybody that I know talks about owning a business. Mm-hmm. It's romantic. It's cool.
Fun
it's control.
Yep.
It's whatever it is for you. Yep. People talk about it all the time. Of that, I think probably 5% of people ever actually do. It's probably less than that, actually.
That's probably
because when it comes to business ownership, there are movers and trigger pullers, and then there's everybody else. And for franchise development folks, it's just having these honest conversations to figure out if you're a mover or if you're everybody else. And everybody else is great. Everybody else is awesome. You're just not in this one little group of people. Yeah. And so trying to figure out in your heart, am I really a mover? Am I really a risk taker? Because it's a risk no matter what. It can be calculated, but it's a calculated risk. There's no calculated guarantees, right? And so you just got to really figure out, are you a mover or not? And if you're waiting on what happens out there, probably not a mover.
Yeah, the name of this group that this is going live in for the first time is called Elite Entrepreneurs and Empire Builders. It's not called opportunists.
Yeah, right.
And that's where a lot of people I talk to are coming in. They're looking for the opportunity at the right time, as if that's a thing, rather than an elite entrepreneur that is going to be able to go, hey, I get the risk associated with this. I've done my due diligence. I am an active owner, not just of a business, but an active owner of my life. Yes. And I'm going to be the one that's going to be able to, it lives or falls on me and my ability to be bold in my decision-making process, And so truly if that's you listening right now, or even if you're listening later too, and you are relating to this, you're getting this kind of going, that's been me. I've been, I guess, more so an opportunist, and maybe I've really just been more afraid than I'd like to admit. And if that has been you, but you are ready to get a conversation going and go, I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired of doing this. And you want to get that conversation going now, type truth, TRUTH, type truth in the comments below. Whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching this 6 months from now or 2 years from now, type truth in the comments, and our team will reach out to you and get a conversation going. Very well. You might have, there might be an opportunity for you with Justin at Franchise Transformations to look at some of their different, really eclectic range of different concepts that are emerging, but have quite a bit more support and a proven system in place than most emerging concepts you're going to find out there by far. And so, as they're doing that, Justin, you want to speak to that a little bit? Tell our audience, where can they kind of find you and connect with you? And also tell us a little bit about some of the brands you're currently working with.
Yeah, easily on social, on LinkedIn, on franchisetransformations.com. I didn't quite think about how long that was going to be when I named the company, but franchisetransformations.com. There's a list that says our brands, and we're really easy to access. We have a type, and we're about fun. We talked a little bit about the brands earlier, a self-pour bar concept called Tapster, which is a lot of fun. Really, that's one of those niche ones we talk about that they're really disruptors. I mean, they're bringing in something where it's control, and it's not just those original OG self-pour where there's 52 IPAs on tap. Not there's anything wrong with that, but there's non-alcoholic, there's every kind of beer that you could ever think of. There's cocktails and mocktails and hard kombucha and seltzers and wines and all the different things, so that you are the tapster. You are in control. Tapster, the probably the first word for bartender, the guy who taps the keg. And so you get to be that, and that's really cool. Coyote Ugly, you've seen the movie, the brand, huge, very specific buyer that we're looking for, somebody who knows and understands and is in this space and just wants to be the big dog on campus with a brand like this, which is cool. Local Drive, I tell you, that's one I'm really excited about. We're opening our third corporate store here in a couple of weeks. The golf bays, the craft cocktails featuring all local beers, wines, seltzers, distilleries. It's just really a cool concept. And Ziggy's Coffee remains to be, in a very smart way, in a very intentional way, expanding rapidly. And certainly, if we're not in a city near you, we're heading that way.
We're coming, so get ready. Yeah, it's so good. Justin, man, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for once again being a part of Fran Opps Live. I already look forward to the next time we get to do it, which in fact, this next week, my friends, we will not be live, Fran Opps Live here inside the Facebook group, at least not in this capacity, because next week, me and my team, we're going to be at the BAI annual conference in Las Vegas, Nevada. And in fact, Justin, you and your team are going to be there as well.
Indeed.
I'm so pumped for this event. It's going to be great. In fact, Justin and I are doing one of the general sessions. He's one of our main speakers on the main stage next week as well. And so be looking in here in the Facebook group. I'm going to be coming in live with some different content throughout the week, doing maybe some side interviews with different individuals, different opportunities, and kind of presenting some of those things. I'll try to make sure we go live with Justin as well. Say hey from Las Vegas, but it's going to be a good time. So man, I'm excited to see you next week at this time as we're shooting this live.
Can't wait.
Until then, my friend, I wish you all the best.
Likewise. Appreciate you and your audience always.
Yeah. All right, everybody. We'll see you later.